To the outside world, Russia and China look like an unbreakable force, a no-limits partnership dead set on toppling the West. For years, Vladimir Putin has banked on China as his ace in the hole, the one ally that would stand by him no matter what. But behind the public handshakes and grand declarations, the ground has shifted. Things are not what they seem. As Putin's war machine starts to sputter and his economy teeters on the edge, Xi Jinping isn't throwing him a lifeline. He's changing the deal. A quiet betrayal is unfolding, not with a bang, but with the cold, hard math of economic reality. As Russia's desperation grows, Beijing is delivering the final blow, not by walking away, but by twisting the partnership into something Putin never wanted: total dependency. With Russia's economy now staring down a long-term crisis, this isn't just Putin's problem. It's a fundamental shift in global power. For years, the story was simple: Russia and China, shoulder to shoulder against a common enemy. Their no-limits partnership, declared back in 2022, was supposed to be the foundation of a new world order. We all saw the photo ops and heard the speeches. It was an alliance built on shared opposition to the West, a promise of mutual support. But what if that promise had a hidden expiration date? What if one partner's crisis was the other's golden opportunity? As we close out 2025, the evidence is impossible to ignore. China isn't saving Russia from its self-inflicted wounds. It's using the chaos to its own advantage, acting less like a friend and more like a predator. The deal Putin thought he had is being rewritten right before his eyes, and the new terms are crushing. Section 1. The apparent strength, the hidden weakness. To really get what's happening, you'll have to remember how this all started. The Russia-China alliance was built on a shared dream of a multipolar world, one where American dominance was ancient history. For Putin, pivoting to the east was a genius move, or so he thought. He believed he'd secured an economic backyard that would make Russia immune to Western sanctions. He had a guaranteed buyer for his oil and gas, a new source for high-tech parts, and a powerful friend at the UN. Deeper ties with China were supposed to make the loss of Europe irrelevant and keep the Russian war economy humming. The plan was simple: create Fortress Russia, with China as the main supplier and financier. Militarily, their cooperation ramped up like never before. They held joint drills in the Asia-Pacific, the Middle East, and even the Arctic, flexing their combined muscle for the United States to see. Russia, trying to show its commitment, even started sharing sensitive military technology with Beijing. This wasn't just about selling jets anymore. This was about building a new world order together. Putin bet everything on the idea that China needed Russia just as much as Russia needed China. He saw them as equals. But he made a huge miscalculation. He didn't see that. In this partnership of convenience, one partner was getting much stronger and a lot more ruthless. The no-limits partnership had a very clear limit: China's own self-interest. And in 2025, that limit has been hit. Section 2. The cracks appear. The economic calculation. The first and most glaring crack in this supposedly unbreakable alliance is the very thing that connects them: energy. For years, the crown jewel of Putin's pivot to Asia was the Power of Siberia 2 pipeline. This mega project was designed to send 50 billion cubic meters of gas to China every year from the same fields that once supplied Europe. It was meant to be Russia's economic lifeline, proving Moscow could thrive without the West. But the triumphant deal Putin expected never materialized. Instead, Beijing has been strategically dragging its feet for years, using Russia's desperation to its advantage. Knowing that Russia's state-owned energy giant Gazprom has lost its European customers and has nowhere else to go, China has been driving an incredibly hard bargain on the one thing that matters: the price. This isn't how a loyal ally behaves. It's the cold, calculated move of a dominant power squeezing every last drop of value from a weakened supplier. Beijing is reportedly pushing for prices close to Russia's subsidized domestic rates, forcing Moscow to trade its economic sovereignty for basic market access. The message is loud and clear: China will take Russia's gas, but only on its own terms and its own schedule. While Russia gets a trickle of revenue, China secures its long-term energy needs at a bargain basement price, locking Russia in not as a partner but as a resource colony. Even as memorandums are signed, critical issues like financing remain unresolved, ensuring Beijing always has the upper hand. This predatory dynamic is now hitting the financial sector. The threat of secondary sanctions from the US has sent a chill through China's state-owned banks. For all the talk of partnership, access to the global dollar-based financial system is non-negotiable for Beijing. Trade with the EU and the US is vastly more important to China's economy than its trade with Russia. In the first 10 months of 2025, China's trade with the EU topped $696 billion, while its trade with the shrinking Russia struggled to reach $185 billion. As a result, major Chinese banks are quietly backing away from Russian business. They call it being risk-averse, but it's a clear choice to prioritize their ties with the West. This creates a huge headache for Russian companies that were counting on Chinese financing to stay afloat. While Beijing publicly condemns Western sanctions, its financial giants are privately complying. It's not a full-blown breakup, but a strategic retreat, a clear signal that China won't risk its own economic stability for Putin's war. The trade data tells the same story. After hitting record highs, bilateral trade has cooled off. In the first 10 months of 2025, trade between the two countries fell by around 9.5%. Chinese exports to Russia, which Moscow desperately needs, fell by nearly 12% in that same period. This is happening at the exact moment Russia needs these goods most. Even China's oil purchases from Russia, a key source of cash for the Kremlin, have shown signs of slowing down. While China is still happy to buy discounted Russian energy, it's carefully managing its risk, pulling back just enough to avoid the full force of Western sanctions while still profiting from Russia's isolation. Section 3. Russia's desperation, an economy in freefall. While China carefully protects its own interests, the Russian economy is sliding from a simple slowdown into a full-blown structural crisis. The Kremlin's narrative of resilience is falling apart under the massive weight of a war machine that's eating the country's resources alive. The GDP figures the Kremlin loves to boast about don't tell the whole story. Growth is slowing dramatically, with forecasts for 2025 repeatedly downgraded by everyone from the IMF to Russia's own central bank, now expected to be as low as 0.6% to 1.5%. The economy is overheating, a situation where massive military spending creates a fake illusion of growth while the civilian sector suffocates. To fight runaway inflation, the central bank was forced to keep interest rates at punishingly high levels, only recently cutting them to 16% after they had peaked at 21%. Those rates have crushed private investment in anything not related to the war. This is the classic guns versus butter dilemma, and the Russian people are feeling it. With defense and security set to consume over 40% of the budget in 2025, there's little left for anything else. Spending on social welfare is projected to drop by nearly 16%. Companies are struggling, and Russian consumers are tightening their belts. The budget deficit is ballooning, far worse than planned, thanks to a collapse in non-military revenue and a surge in war spending. This isn't just a temporary dip, it's the system breaking down. Analysts describe the Russian economy as entering a phase of prolonged decline and controlled chaos. The entire financial system has become murky and built on distrust. This isn't the strong fortress economy Putin promised. It's an economy collapsing from the inside out, leaving him more desperate and more dependent on China than ever. Section 4. The price of partnership, a new world vassal. So what's the price for China's limited self-serving support? For the Kremlin, the answer is terrifying: Russia's own sovereignty. In his desperation, Putin has been forced to make concessions he would have found unthinkable just a few years ago. He has apparently decided that Russia can't win its fight against the West alone, and his only way forward is to help China dethrone the United States. And that means giving Beijing the keys to the kingdom, the crown jewels of the Russian military-industrial complex. It's a transactional relationship, but the deals are getting dangerously one-sided. China supplies Russia with essential dual-use components, things like semiconductors, machine tools, and ball bearings that Moscow needs to keep its weapons factories running. In return, Russia is handing over some of its most sensitive military technologies. This includes things like advanced aircraft engines, which China has struggled for years to perfect for its own fighter jets, and top-secret submarine quieting technology that could help China's nuclear fleet hide from American forces. The Russian government is sacrificing its long-term strategic advantages for Beijing's immediate support. This goes way beyond simple arms deals. Russia is even providing expertise on ballistic missile defense and helping China build its own space-based missile attack warning system, a capability that dramatically boosts Beijing's nuclear power. Let's be clear about what this means. Putin is trading Russia's future military edge for short-term survival. He is arming a nation that is already economically dominant over his own. The combination of advanced Russian tech and China's massive manufacturing power is supercharging Beijing's military modernization. Russia, once the senior partner in this relationship, is now the junior. It's becoming an appendage of the Chinese economy and a technology farm for the People's Liberation Army. This isn't an alliance of equals. This is the absorption of a declining power by a rising one. Russia isn't going bankrupt in the traditional sense. It's selling off its future piece by piece to its most powerful neighbor. This is a complex, rapidly evolving story, with new twists every week. To stay on top of what's really happening behind the headlines and understand this massive shift in global power, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell. Your support helps us keep digging for the truth that cuts through the official stories. So, what does all this mean? The No Limits partnership isn't dead, but it has morphed into something far more dangerous for Moscow. It's now a relationship of pure dependency, where China holds all the cards. As one analyst put it, China's leaders see Russia as a strategic buffer, a source of discounted raw materials, and a geopolitical partner that helps counterbalance the West. A buffer, a source, a tool, not an equal. The title of this video is China Rejects Putin's Deal as Russia Goes Bankrupt. And while there wasn't one big, dramatic moment of rejection, what has unfolded is a slow, grinding betrayal. China has rejected the deal Putin thought he had, a partnership of equals. In its place, Beijing has forced a new deal, one where Russia serves as a resource colony and a military asset in China's own grand strategy. Russia's economy isn't technically bankrupt yet, but its future has been mortgaged to Beijing. Putin bet his entire post-2022 strategy on an unbreakable bond with Xi Jinping, thinking their shared hatred of the West would be enough. But he forgot that for China, this has always been a game of chess. And as Russia's pieces are taken off the board one by one, China isn't trying to save its king. It's simply moving its own pieces into a winning position. The question is no longer if the West can outlast Putin. The real question now is, has Putin, in a desperate gamble for survival, accidentally turned Russia into a vassal state in a new Chinese world order?